The red desert stretched wide under a yellow sky. Not a single cloud moved. The air was dry and silent, and nothing stirred. Then the calm broke. A human scout ship roared through the sky, flames trailing behind it. It shook and rattled but held. Together as it landed hard in a cloud of dust, inside the ship, Tomel, a space scout from Earth, sat gripping the controls. He wiped sweat from his forehead. His job was to explore strange signals. The signal he picked up today had no name, no data, and no source. It was a quiet hum from this lifeless planet, calling through space like a whisper. He stepped outside with his helmet on, boots pressing into the hot sand. The signal came from just a few hundred meters away. As he walked, he saw something strange. Sticking out of the sand, it was a black and silver escape pod, half buried, marked with glowing symbols. It didn't look human, not even close. Tomel kept his weapon ready as he opened the pod's hatch. A softness escaped as air rushed out. Inside, he saw her. She sat quietly, her eyes closed. She had silver skin with a light glow under it, like the stars had touched her. Her hair was black and smooth. Her bodysuit was clean, built with strange lines and symbols. She looked peaceful, almost like she was sleeping. Tomel pointed his scanner at her. No results. Nothing matched in his database. Suddenly, her eyes opened. They were bright gold and calm. She looked at him without fear, then stood up slowly. Her movements were strong but gentle. She spoke in perfect Earth language. "Where am I?" Tomel stepped back, surprised. "You speak human language?" "Yes," she said simply. He stared at her. "Are you military?" She gave a small smile, not mocking, just calm. Higher than that. Tomel didn't know what that meant. He kept his weapon low but didn't put it away. "I'm Tomel," he said. "From Earth. You sent a signal." She nodded. "It was a distress call. I crashed here after being chased. I need transport off this planet." Tomel looked back at his ship. It wasn't built for passengers, but it could hold one more. He didn't like taking risks, but something about her felt different. She didn't beg. She didn't threaten. She just waited. He led her back to the ship, inside. She touched the walls like she already knew the design. Tomel watched her with suspicion. She didn't eat the food he offered. She didn't ask questions. Instead, she walked to the control panel and looked at the signal records. "You heard it clearly," she said. "Yeah, the whole system is silent, but your signal broke through. I thought maybe it was a trap. It wasn't a trap. But now that you've come, you're part of it." "Part of what?" he asked. She looked at him. Her eyes didn't blink. "Something larger than your world knows." Tomel sat across from her. He tried running a full scan of her again. Still nothing. No name, no species, not even a life reading. It was like she didn't exist. "You gonna tell me who you really are?" he asked. "I'm not allowed to share everything, but I can say this. I'm being hunted. If they find me, they'll destroy this place to keep me quiet." Tomel stood up. "You mean more are coming here?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I survived." He paced around the small control room. She just sat there, still calm. He felt like he was sitting with something powerful, like a force wearing a face. That night, the wind picked up outside. Tomel couldn't sleep. He looked out the window and saw movement. Shapes rising from the sand. At first, he thought it was a trick of the wind. Then he saw the machines, tall and thin, like walking metal bones, with red lights for eyes. He rushed to wake her. "We've got company." She opened her eyes without surprise. She stood up, walked past him, and stepped out into the desert. "Wait, are you crazy?" he called. She raised one hand. The machine stopped. Their red lights blinked. Then she made a sharp motion, and in seconds, they exploded into fire and metal pieces. Tomel stared, shocked. No weapon, no sound, just emotion. She walked back inside and sat down. "Those were scouts," she said. "Now the real ones will come. They know I'm alive. That makes you a target too." Tomel didn't know what to say. His ship wasn't built for battle. He was just a scout. He checked the ship's systems. Nothing showed on the radar, but he didn't doubt her words. "You said they'll destroy this place?" "Yes. Why you?" Because I carry something they fear. Tomel took a deep breath. All right, then we move in the morning. Tell me where we're going. She looked up. To the beacon. If I can reach it, I can send a signal that reaches beyond them. Then we'll have help. Tomel nodded. He didn't fully understand, but he had already stepped into something he couldn't step out of. This was no normal rescue. He looked at her. Again, you sure you're not military? Her lips turned into that same small smile. Higher than that. The desert sun rose fast. Heat waves danced across the red sand. Tomel stood outside his ship, checking the sky. The scanners still showed nothing, but he didn't trust them anymore. The machines from last night had come without warning. If Rhinal hadn't been there, he might not be alive now. Inside the ship, Rhinal sat quietly with her eyes closed. She looked like she was resting, but Tomel knew better. She didn't sleep like humans. She didn't eat or drink. Her body seemed to run on something unknown. Tomel sat across from her, holding a small data tablet. He had spent most of the night trying to figure out what she was. He searched through files, old records, and even secret logs he had copied from Earth's Deep Space Command. Nothing matched her design, her language, or her signal. You're not on any record. He said, no race, no class, no history. I wouldn't be, she replied without opening her eyes. My kind does not exist in your data. Why not? Because we made sure of it. That answer only raised more questions, but Tomel had no time to ask. He turned to the ship's main screen and brought up the map. Rhinal had given him the coordinates for the beacon. It was buried under an old city, one that was erased from all modern maps. It would take 2 hours to reach it by air if the path was clear. You said more of those things will come, Tomel said. What exactly are we walking into? Rhinal opened her eyes and stood. The hunters are not just machines. They serve a force that hides in shadows. They remove anything that stands in their way. I escaped their grasp, so they'll keep coming. Tomel looked at her closely. You keep calling them hunters. Are they from your world? No. They were made by a council that once ruled parts of the galaxy. That council feared what we are. They sent the hunters to wipe us out. Now only a few of us remain. Tomel felt a chill. So you're saying you're the last of something powerful, something they couldn't control. She nodded. They want to erase knowledge of us, not just our bodies. That's why they destroyed the old city. That's why they shut down the beacon. Tomel tapped the map again. This beacon, what does it do? It sends a call across long space, faster than light, a message only certain beings can hear. If I activate it, others will know I am alive. They will come and help. They will do more than help. Tomel took a deep breath. He had joined space service to explore. Now he was flying into a forgotten war with a stranger who wasn't even listed in human records. But deep down, he felt something he hadn't felt. In yours, purpose. All right, let's go. He powered up the engines. The ship lifted off the sand and turned toward the rocky hills in the east as they flew. The desert gave way to broken ruins, crushed towers, fallen bridges, and strange stone shapes littered the land. Nature had begun to swallow it again, but signs of battle were still clear. Rhinal stood beside him, looking out the window. Her eyes scanned the land like she remembered every piece of it. This place was once full of voices, she said. Now it sleeps. Tomel lowered the ship near a stone arch. They stepped out, the heat pressing against their suits. Rhinal led the way, walking with speed and focus. Tomel followed, weapon in hand as they entered the ruins. Tomel noticed symbols carved into the walls. They glowed faintly as Rhinal passed. She touched them once, and the light grew brighter. Is this your writing? Tomel asked. Yes, these are memory marks, warnings, names, and stories, all hidden. Why hide them? So the hunters could not erase everything. They walked down a wide stairway made of black stone. It led deep underground. Tomel's light flickered, but Rhinal's body gave off a soft glow, enough to guide them. Soon they reached a large room. In the center stood a broken machine, shaped like a tall pillar. Wires hung from it. Dust covered its surface. The beacon. She said to Mel stepped forward. Can it still work? Rhinal nodded. Yes, but I must repair it. Suddenly, the room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A loud humming filled the air. Tomo looked at his scanner. Drones incoming. At least 10. Fast. They followed us, Reinhold said. They never stopped. Tomo took cover behind a pillar. He raised his weapon as the first drone entered. It flew like a sharp dart, metal wings buzzing. He fired. The shot hit it, but it kept moving. He fired again and brought it down. More drones entered. Tomo fought hard, but there were too many. Just when one almost hit him, Reinhold raised her hand. A blue wave of energy swept across the room, breaking the drones apart in midair. She moved through the fight like a storm, calm, fast, and focused. Every motion from her hands sent a force through the air, crushing machines, blocking blasts. Tomo shot 3 more drones before they backed off and flew away, broken and scattered. Silence returned. Tomo panted, shoulders tense. You really are something else. Reinhold didn't answer. She walked to the beacon and placed both hands on it. A low hum filled the air. The pillar lit up, glowing with light. Symbols moved across its surface like flowing water. Then she spoke one word in her language. The sound echoed through the chamber. It's done, she said. Tomo looked at her. So the message is out. Yes, now they know I live. He didn't know who they were, but the way she said it made him believe they were coming. He looked back at the path they had taken. What happens now? Reinhold turned to him. Now the real fight begins. The beacon chamber still glowed faintly. Blue lines ran across the floor and up the walls like roots of light. Tomo checked his weapon and walked round the edge of the room, scanning for movement. His hands were steady now. He was still afraid, but it no longer froze him. He had seen what Reinhold could do. That gave him some hope. Reinhold stood near the beacon, silent. Her hands hung by her sides, but her eyes stayed locked on the shadows near the exit. She had not moved for minutes. Is someone coming? Tomo asked. Yes, she said. They were already near when I sent the signal. Tomo frowned. The drones were just scouts. They were nothing compared to what follows. Tomo checked his ship on the wrist screen. It was still safe outside the ruins, hidden behind the rocks, but even the ship wouldn't survive a battle with a full force. I thought your signal would bring help, he said. It will, she replied. But it takes time. We must stay alive until then. Tomo moved beside her. What exactly are they sending? Reinhold looked at the stone ceiling as if she could see through. A cruiser, large, armed, and fast. It holds weapons made to destroy beings like me. They don't plan to take me. They want to end me. Tomo didn't ask why they feared her so much. He had already seen enough to know she held power far above anything Earth had. But a cruiser meant more than just machines. It meant real war. What do? He asked. We go up. We take your ship and fly low through the canyons. They will look for us in open skies first. We stay below until we reach the shield caves. Tomo followed her quickly. They moved up the stairs and out into the light. The wind had grown stronger. Sand swirled around them. The sun was hidden by clouds that moved in strange shapes. Tomo looked up. A dark shape moved across the sky. There it is, he said. The cruiser had arrived. It was massive and silent, like a floating city. It had no windows, only black armor with red lines running along its side. The front opened, and a wave of hunter drones poured out. Tomo ran to his ship. Reinhold followed. As they jumped in, Tomo started the engines. The ship rose quickly and turned toward the canyon path. The drones flew fast behind them. Small and sharp, they fired beams of red light. One hit the wing and burned a deep line into the metal. Tomo twisted the controls, flying between sharp rocks and narrow tunnels. The ship shook, but he held it steady. Reinhold moved to the back and opened a small hatch. She reached out her hand. A wave of blue light shot from her palm, slicing through the air. 3 drones exploded behind them. You can do that from inside the ship? Tomo asked. Only for a short time. The energy takes strength. He nodded and flew deeper into the rocks. The ship passed under a low arch and into a wide cavern. He landed quickly and shut off the engines. Shield cave, he said. Will this protect us? Yes, she said. They cannot scan through the stone. Here, Tomal sat back and breathed. His hands were sore from gripping the controls. Rhinal sat beside him. She looked tired for the first time. Her skin still glowed, but it was softer now. You all right? He asked. I am, but I need rest to gather strength. Tomal checked the ship's systems. We took a hit, but the core is fine. We have power and light. She looked at him. Thank you for flying like that. Most humans would have fallen. Tomal gave a small smile. I've had practice, but nothing like this before. Outside, the sound of flying drones faded. The cruiser moved across the sky, searching. But the cave hid them well. How long until help arrives? He asked. A few more hours, she said. If the signal reached them, and if it didn't, Rhinal looked at him. Her voice was soft. Then we make our last stand here. Tomal stood and walked to the edge of the cave. He looked out at the sky. The cruiser was turning now, slowly circling the area. It knew something was nearby, back inside. Rhinal sat with her eyes closed. She was quiet, but Tomal saw her hands move in small circles, as if shaping something in the air. Light followed her fingers. She was preparing. He sat near her, watching. He had questions, but now it didn't feel like the right time. She was more than a warrior. She was part of something greater, and he was still trying to understand it. A soft beep came from the scanner. A small group of land units had arrived near the cave entrance. He grabbed his weapon and moved forward. Company's here, he said. Rhinal stood again. Her energy had returned. Her eyes were bright. Then we fight, outside. For hunter units moved across the rocks. They were large and strong, with armor that looked like black stone. Each held a weapon that glowed with red heat. Tomal fired first. His blast hit one in the chest, but it kept coming. Rhinal stepped past him and raised both hands. A wave of force lifted the rocks and threw them at the enemy, to fell at once. One hunter leaped forward. Tomal shot it in the leg. It stumbled, then turned toward him. Rhinal pushed her hand forward. The air itself bent and struck the last hunter. It flew back and hit the wall hard. Pieces of armor broke off. It didn't move again. Silence returned. Tomal lowered his weapon. We made it, for now, Rhinal said. But this was only the first wave. He nodded. He felt the weight of what was coming. But he also felt something new, a sense of duty. You really think help will come? He asked. I do, she said, because I was not the only one left. Tomal looked up at the sky once more. The stars were hidden, but he believed her. The real battle had not begun yet, but he was ready to face it with her. The sun had dropped behind the hills. The red light in the sky slowly faded. The heat of the day was gone, but the air still felt heavy inside the cave. Tomal checked the scanner again. The hunter cruiser still hovered above the canyon. No new signals had appeared, but he didn't feel safe. Not yet. Rhinal stood near the ship's hatch. She had not spoken much since the fight. Her energy was low again every time she used her power. She needed to rest. Her face showed no fear. But Tomal could see her body moving slower than before. We should move soon, he said. She nodded. Yes, they will send more. Staying here too long is not safe. Tomal packed a small bag of supplies. He had already repaired the ship's damaged wing. The engines were working again, but the sky was still full of enemies. Flying would be too dangerous now. We go on foot, he asked. Yes, Rhinal said. There is another path. It leads to an old city. Below that city is a chamber. I can use it to connect to the higher link. It is the final key. Tomal didn't understand all of her words, but he trusted her. He followed her out of the cave and into the night. The canyon path was narrow and dark. Strange blue plants glowed along the rocks. The wind howled between the walls. Every sound made Tomal grip his weapon tighter. After 1 hour of walking, they reached a split in the rocks. Rhinal pointed to the left path. That way leads to the fire zone. We must pass through it. Tomal raised an eyebrow. Fire zone. Old machines guard the way. Traps built long ago to keep intruders out. We must pass them to reach the chamber. He nodded. Lead the way. They moved forward. The air grew warmer with every step. The ground cracked under their feet. Red lights started to shine from deep cracks in the stone. It looked like the earth itself was burning from the inside. Soon, they reached a wide open space between the rocks. Black towers stood in a circle. Strange devices floated in the air. Slowly turning, Rhino raised her hand and stopped. "This is it," she said. "Do not touch anything. Follow my steps exactly." Tomel nodded and watched her carefully. She stepped forward, moving between the towers with care. Her feet avoided certain stones. She tilted her body to pass through beams of red light. Tomel followed. His heart pounded. One wrong step and the entire area could light up. Halfway through, one of the towers flashed. A low sound echoed through the canyon. Rhino turned faster. "They have detected movement." Tomel picked up speed. A beam shot from the sky and hit the ground just behind him. Dust flew into the air. He ran. Rhino raised her arms. A shield formed in front of her. The beams hit it but could not pass through. She pushed forward, guiding Tomel past the last two. Towers died as soon as they crossed the line. The lights went dark. The floating devices froze in place. Tomel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "That was close." Rhino stood beside him, her face calm again. "You did well." They moved on. The land ahead began to change. Strange ruins appeared around them. Broken buildings, tall statues, and stone walls covered in marks stood under the stars. "This was the outer part of the city," Rhino said. "The true chamber lies deeper." Tomel looked around. The place felt silent, too silent. Even the wind had stopped. "Why did they destroy this place?" he asked. "Because it held truth," Rhino said. "A truth they feared. My people once guarded knowledge that kept balance across worlds. The hunters were made to break that balance." Tomel walked beside her. "And now you're the last of them?" "Not the last," she said, "but close." They reached a large gate made of dark metal. It was shut. Symbols on its surface began to glow as Rhino placed her hand on it. The gate opened slowly. Behind it was a wide hall filled with broken machines and dust. At the far end stood a round platform, like a stage. In the center was a glowing sphere, floating above a stone base. Rhino stepped forward. "This is the core link. It connects to the higher level. Once I reach it, they will see me clearly." Tomel stayed near the wall, watching the door. "How long will it take?" he asked. "Not long. But I must stay inside the sphere. I cannot defend myself during that time." He nodded. "I'll cover you." Rhino stepped onto the platform. The sphere pulsed and slowly pulled her inside. Her body floated in the light, arms stretched outward, her eyes closed. Tomel raised his weapon and watched the entrance. Minutes passed. Then the ground shook. A loud sound came from the outer gate. Tomel's scanner lit up. A large life form had entered the ruins. He looked up. A tall figure stepped into the hall. It was over 8 feet tall, covered in armor black as night. Its eyes glowed red. It carried a staff-like weapon in one hand. It wasn't a drone. It was a hunter soldier. Tomel fired first. The blast hit the armor but bounced off. The creature moved fast. It swung its weapon, and a wave of force threw Tomel across the room. He hit the wall and dropped to the ground. Pain shot through his side. But he stood. The hunter moved toward Rhino. Tomel shouted and ran forward. He fired again, aiming for the creature's legs. This time the shot hit a weak point. The hunter slowed. Rhino opened her eyes. Her body was still inside the sphere, but her hands glowed. She spoke a single word. A blast of blue light struck the hunter. It roared, dropped its weapon, and turned to face her. She raised both hands. A second wave hit the creature and lifted it off the floor. The armor cracked. The red lights in its eyes faded. The hunter crashed into the wall and fell still. Silence filled the chamber once more. Tomel leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Ronald stepped out of the sphere. She looked at him with a calm face. "You stayed," she said. "You needed time," he said. "The message is complete. They will come." Tomel looked at the broken body of the hunter, and if more follow. Ronald looked at the stars above. "Then we stand again." The ruins were quiet after the battle. Dust floated in the air. The broken hunter soldier lay at the far end of the hall, its armor split, its eyes dark. Tomel sat on a stone near the platform, his back sore, arm bruised, but he was alive. Rhinal stood near the glowing sphere. She had finished sending the message to her people. The light inside the sphere was fading now. Her skin was dimmer, her voice softer. But her eyes still held strength. Tomel looked up at her. How long before they arrive? Not long, she said. I felt them respond. They are close. Are they like you? Some are stronger, she said. Some are wiser. All are sworn to protect the balance. Tomel nodded slowly. And the hunters? Will they stop now? Rhinal turned toward the entrance. No. They know the message was sent. Their council will make one last move. They always do. Tomel stood, stretching his arm. So this wasn't their last attack. No. It was only a delay. The council fears what I have shared. Now they will strike directly. They won't send machines. They'll come in person. Before Tomel could reply, the ground trembled. Stones shifted. A loud sound came from the sky, a deep hum that grew louder every second. Rhinal moved quickly to the exit and looked up. A second cruiser appeared in the sky. It was larger than the first one. Its shape was sharp, its body covered in dark armor that glowed with red lines. It hovered above the city ruins like a shadow over the land. This is the council ship, Rhinal said. They've come themselves. Tomel stepped beside her. We need to move. Rhinal shook her head. No, this place is strong. Its roots are deep. We make our stand here. A beam of red light shot from the cruiser and hit the ground outside the ruins. The impact shook the city. Fire and dust rose into the air. Tomel pulled Rhinal back from the opening. We need cover, he said. They moved back into the main hall. Tomel took position behind a broken pillar. Rhinal stood near the center, her hands glowing again. Then the council arrived. 4 figures stepped down from the cruiser. They were tall, covered in flowing armor with sharp edges. Their faces were hidden behind silver masks. Each carried a long staff. They did not run or speak. They walked with calm steps, like they owned the ground. Tomel aimed his weapon but did not fire. He waited. The first figure stepped into the hall and raised his hand. We are the Council of Control, he said. You, Rhinal of the Guardians, have broken the law of silence. You will be erased. Rhinal did not move. Her voice was steady. You feared truth. You hid the past. You erased lies. Now the truth has escaped. You cannot silence it again. The council leader raised his staff. Then we take your voice. We end it here. The 3 others moved forward. One struck the ground with his staff. A wave of red energy shot toward Rhinal. She raised both hands and pushed back. Blue light met red. The 2 forces clashed in the center of the hall. The floor cracked under the pressure. Tomel fired at the second figure. The blast hit its chest but bounced off. The figure turned toward him and sent a pulse of force. Tomel jumped to the side. The pulse hit the wall, breaking it apart. Rhinal shouted something in her old language. A wave of power burst from her body, knocking 2 of the attackers back. The third reached her and swung his staff. She caught it with her hand and pushed him away. Tomel fired again and again, aiming for weak spots. One of his shots hit the mask of the third figure. It cracked, and the figure fell. The leader stepped forward now. His armor changed, glowing brighter. He raised his staff high. You are alone, Rhinal. Your kind has faded. Rhinal's voice rose. No, I am not alone. At that moment, the sky outside flashed. A new light appeared, blue and gold. A massive ship entered from above. It was smooth and bright. With curved wings and glowing symbols, it moved with silent speed. The council leader turned to look up. From the new ship, beams of light fell to the ground. Figures stepped out, not machines, not soldiers. They were like Rhinal, tall, glowing. Calm. The Guardians had come. The new arrivals moved fast. They entered the hall, light shining from their hands. One raised his arm and sent a wave of energy that pushed the council back. Rhinal stood tall now. Her strength returned. You see now, she said. We rise again. The Guardians joined her. Together, they formed a circle of light. The council tried to resist. They fired, struck, shouted, but the light grew stronger. The leader of the council gave one final command: fall back. In seconds, the council disappeared. Their ship rose and vanished into the sky. Silence returned. Tomel lowered his weapon. His arms were shaking. Reinald turned to him. You did well. You stood when many would have run. One of the guardians stepped forward. He looked at Tomel and gave a small nod. His voice was deep. This human is brave. He stood beside a guardian. He must be honored. Tomel looked around at the glowing beings. What now? Reinald smiled. Now we rebuild. And you have a choice to return home or to walk with us. Tomel looked at the sky. Earth was far. But here, in this place, he had made a mark. I'll walk with you, he said. Reinald nodded. Then your journey begins now. The large ship hummed softly as it hovered just above the ruined city. Inside, Tomel sat quietly beside Reinald. The room was bright with soft lights that shifted colors slowly. Like the dawn on Earth, Tomel looked at her carefully. She seemed different now, calmer, but with a weight in her eyes that had not been there before. You want to know the truth, Reinald said quietly. Tomel nodded. Yes, I want to understand who you really are. Why the hunters want you gone. Why? The council fears you. Reinald took a slow breath. I will tell you, but only because you stood with me, because you showed courage when others would have run. Tomel leaned in, ready to listen. Long ago, before your people were born, there was a great order called the Guardians. We were not just warriors. We were protectors of balance. The galaxy is full of forces, some light, some dark. The Guardians kept the peace between them. She paused, her eyes far away. But peace was broken. A council rose, a group who sought control over everything. They feared change. They feared knowledge, so they created the Hunters, living machines meant to hunt down the Guardians and erase their history. Tomel frowned. Why erase history? Because truth can free minds. The council wanted obedience. No questions, no rebellions. So they wiped out cities, destroyed records, and hunted anyone who remembered the old ways. Tomel felt cold. And you? I am a guardian, she said. A part of a core force, created to survive when others fall. I was sent away during the last battle to warn others, to keep the knowledge alive. Tomel looked at her hands. But they caught you. Reinald nodded. Yes, they hunted me for centuries. They wanted to silence me. But I escaped. She looked at him. That is why I said I am higher than military, because I serve a purpose beyond soldiers and wars. I am a keeper of balance, a bearer of truth. Tomel swallowed hard. And now, what will happen? The council will try again. But with the Guardians returning, and you standing with us, the future has hope. Tomel felt a new strength in her words. For the first time, he saw not just a stranger, but a being fighting for something larger than himself. Reinald stood and moved to a glowing window that looked out at the stars. You have changed things, Tomel, she said softly, because you chose to stand, because you chose to fight for what is right. Tomel stood beside her, watching the distant stars. And what about Earth? He asked. Will it be safe? The Guardians will watch over all worlds now, Reinald said, including yours. Tomel smiled faintly. Then I am glad to walk this path. She looked at him, her golden eyes shining. We will face dangers ahead, but together we are stronger than any force outside. The stars shone bright. The war was not over, but for the first time, hope burned like a light in the darkness. The great ship sailed through the black sky, stars rushing past like diamonds in the night. Tomel stood on the observation deck, watching the worlds below. Reinald was beside him, her silver skin glowing softly in the light. The weight of what had happened still pressed on his chest, but hope burned stronger. They were no longer alone. The Guardians had returned. The council had been pushed back, but not destroyed. The war for balance was just beginning. Tomel looked at Reinald and felt the power she carried, not just in her strength, but in her will to protect, to keep peace. We must go home, Tomel said. Earth needs to know. Reinald nodded. Yes, the truth must be shared. They prepared the ship to jump across the stars. The energy built inside the core. Lights flickered. The air buzzed with power. Tomal took a deep breath. This journey was more than a mission. It was a chance to change everything. As the stars blurred, Tomal thought of the quiet desert where they first met. The signal that called out in the silence, the battles they fought together, the light that returned to a broken world. Suddenly, the ship slowed. An alert flashed on the console. Incoming message. Rhinal said. Tamel opened it. The screen showed a simple face, a human woman, calm and serious. Captain Tomal, she said, this is Earth Command. We have received your signal. Your report is being reviewed. Prepare to land. Tomal smiled. We're coming home. The ship moved through the atmosphere. The blue and green planet stretched below them. Tomal felt a swell of pride. Earth was safe for now. But the future would need brave souls like Rhinal, like the Guardians, and like him, on the ground. People watched the sky. The great ship descended slowly, its light brightening the night. The world held its breath. When the ship landed, Tomal and Rhinal stepped out. They were greeted by a crowd, scientists, soldiers, and leaders. Questions filled the air, but Rhinal raised her hand for silence. I come as a guardian, she said, not to conquer, but to protect. The Council of Control threatens many worlds. Together, we can stop them. Tomal stood beside her. I was just a scout, but now I stand with the Guardians, and I ask you to stand with us. The crowd listened, some doubtful, some hopeful. In the days that followed, Earth prepared. Alliances were made, messages were sent to other worlds. The Guardians and humans trained side by side. The shadow of war still loomed, but a new dawn had arrived. One night, Tomal and Rhinal stood on a hill outside the city. The stars twinkled above. Silence was calm. Do you ever miss your home? Tomal asked. Rhinal looked at the sky. I miss many things, but my home is now here. With those who choose to stand for light, Tomal smiled. I'm glad I met you. She smiled back. That same calm smile he had seen in the desert. Together, we are higher than any army. The future was uncertain. Battles would come. But for the first time, they were ready. Hope was alive. And the story of the Guardian and the Scout had only just begun.